On this week's episode, it's a preview of WrestleMania weekend. The postponements for pop culture continues. And is it good to be the Tiger King? All this and more as we reach our next stop, the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. This is Gerald Glass from Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break. Thank you so much for listening to all of our great shows. Well, it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without my good friend. He's our own Joe Exotic of Pop Culture Cosmos. You got to check out what he's doing today when he's not taking care of tigers, of course, at popculturecosmos.com. Also his great show, Topicocalypse. And, of course, you got to read his book, which is available now on Amazon and also Barnes & Noble. That is Congratulations, You Suck. It is my good friend. It is Josh Peterson. Rawr, rawr.
I don't know if I should be, if that's a compliment or an insult to be called Joe Exotic these days.
Well, you be like on every meme or GIF right now, that's for sure.
Yeah, true. But I'm good, man. What's going on?
A lot of things, my friend, still. I know everybody's trapped out. You know, everybody's still stuck at home for the most part, and we want to share our thoughts out there with everybody. Hope everybody out there is staying safe, staying healthy, and as always, our continued thoughts and prayers for everybody out there that is suffering through this deal, suffering through this ordeal, and also our wholehearted congratulations and appreciations, our wholehearted appreciation for everybody out there, all those workers on the front line, all those health workers that take care of us each and every day and taking care of the sick. We truly appreciate everything that you do, and everyone else that, whether you're in delivery out there, out when you're doing delivery out there, whether you're working in retail, whatever you're doing that's essential right now in this crisis, we truly appreciate it. But we've got a great show lined up for you. Not one, but two big interviews on today's show. First off, I've got Brett Allen from the Open Mic Podcast. He's stopping by to talk about the train wreck known as Tiger King: Murder, Mayhem, and Madness. That's the docuseries that's currently on Netflix that is getting everybody in an internet upheaval. I mean, you cannot avoid anything relating to Tiger King.
Are they getting into an uproar?
Yes, it is the big uproar at this time, pardon the pun. We're going to be talking about that coming up here in a sec. Plus, also as well, on the back end, I've got Alex Autry and Mike Faber of the ESO Network. They're going to be previewing with me WrestleMania 36 coming up on the back end of the show. Plus, also Josh and I are going to talk real quick about Resident Evil 3 and also Resident Evil Resistance. But first, my friend, just want to go over real quick with you. Sony made some changes. Universal made some changes. Paramount made some changes. First off, Paramount, Top Gun has been moved to December. Sony with Ghostbusters Afterlife, Peter Rabbit 2, Morbius, Uncharted. They've all been shuffled. In fact, some of them, like Uncharted, it's just completely off the board at this point in time, which, as you and I both know, that's been something that I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm going to ask you that in a sec. But Venom 2 has not been moved as of yet, and that's the only property that I know of at this point in time that was coming out this year that they haven't touched. Even on their video game end, they've got The Last of Us 2 and Iron Man VR are both off the schedule now completely, so they've both been postponed. And Universal's with Minions 2, Sing 2, and Wicked have also been moved as well. So I want to ask you, my friend, this is all continued to be in flux. These studios are changing things all the time. But with Uncharted, do you think it's ever going to come out? Because now it's been delayed yet again.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like if it's gotten put through the ringer for this long, that we're not really in any danger of losing it. I'm sure it'll pop back up here eventually. But my question to you would be, with no, we haven't had any mid-year films where the summer box office hopes are quickly being dashed. Can the movie industry last that long, on this furloughed, because not furlough, but I mean, on this break, because a lot of editors and directors and people who do, who just work on the set builders, even, people who bring the coffee, everyone is being affected by this. So they're all going to be out of jobs. So it's a big question of like, who are people going to be coming back to make these films, or is it going to be a long time before that industry is able to rebuild itself?
There will be some semblance of it, I believe. I just don't think it's going to be as it was in, let's say, January or February of this year. I think at some point in time it will evolve back into that, but maybe we're talking about maybe a 3, 5, possibly even a 10-year delay before we even see everything back to quote unquote normal in the industry. And even by that time, everything, not everything, but so much of the industry can shift towards streaming that it'll be more geared towards streaming markets. As you said on a previous podcast, that you think the market is just, that this is probably going to kick off something that people are going to be in tune more with streaming outlets, and start staying away from the theaters for only event and going only for event purposes. So I think at this point in time, it's going to affect the industry, really, really badly. I mean, it's already affected it to the point people are talking about $500-600 million worldwide already lost in numbers, and the numbers are just going to get worse and worse. But the industry as a whole, some of these projects will be adversely affected. Some may be canned, some may be canceled, some may be delayed. Others will go on as planned, but the industry in and of itself will be hurt for a long time to come.
Yeah, so I mean, it makes me wonder, like, all these projects are getting pushed off to the side. How long is it going to take for those to be able to ramp up enough, enough people, enough money, enough production to get that going again? So I don't think it's a matter of just like, hey, we're shifting this to this time, or hey, we're putting this show on pause and we'll pick it up, after this whole virus thing fades. I don't think it's that simple. That's what I keep telling myself. The same way, like, a lot of people see these small businesses going out of business, and they're like, when this whole thing's open, they'll reopen again, but they're not. Like, they're shutting their doors and they can't afford, they are going out of business, and it's not going to be a matter of just like, we'll just throw some people back in there, turn the lights back on, and things are going to run smoothly. So I don't think, I feel like it's the same thing with these films. Like, if these ones are getting pushed back, it's not going to be just a matter of like, hey, we'll finish filming this and it'll be out in December. I think there's going to be a lot more to that. Like, a lot of these movies will probably get pushed back 2 or 3 more times before they're released.
I agree with you. And in the case of these smaller projects, or projects like Uncharted, which basically is an unproven commodity on the big screen, those projects will probably be pushed back even more. The safe bets, like the Marvel movies, the DC movies, the Fast and Furious, those probably won't be affected in the way that those other movies will. Those movies, as soon as it's okay to go ahead and start production again, they'll be allowed to go ahead and do so. It's those smaller projects or those unproven projects which studios beforehand were taking a chance on. They may be reluctant to do so, with the money being not as plentiful in the future, at least in the short-term future, for the movie industry. And the possibly could be affecting this, and it possibly could be affecting this industry for some time to come.
Yeah, and like, I want to get back to what you said too about the gaming side of it. Is that first of all, Last of Us Part 2, the Sony fanboys have been oddly quiet on that. Sony has been oddly quiet on everything. Phil Spencer is still saying, hey, the Xbox is due to come out. It might not be the original date, but it will be out for the holiday season. And he's done a great job of reinforcing that stance. Whereas PlayStation 5, like, they've come out and said, they haven't really said anything. They've given us specs, but they've also, I'm seeing interviews where people with who's the guy in charge of Sony right now? It's you're gonna have to edit this out. What's his name?
Let me check, because it's not who it used to be, because they replaced. Are you talking about the head of Sony, head of PlayStation?
Yeah. Sean Layden? Is that?
No, because Sean's gone.
What's his name now that's in charge?
That's what I'm trying to look at right now. It's not Mark Cerny, because he's just the designer. See, that's the problem. You don't have a Kasharn Layton. I don't think it's.
Okay, well, anyways, the guy in charge of PlayStation right now, there's interviews popping up where he has said that like they are still trying to get the PlayStation 5 out, but they might go ahead because of the way things are shaping up right now. They might go ahead and produce a cheaper version of the PlayStation 5 and then redesign it once, things become more readily available. And I don't know how I feel about that, because I feel like anyone who gets a first gen PS5 is just being promised that they're getting a hunk of garbage. So what is the point?
Exactly. It seems like it's cheapening the process, cheapening and shorting the customers as a whole. If you're just going to give them something that's not going to be fully effective, and if you give them a cheaper version of the PlayStation 5 that won't run the top end games, once you bring out a better version of it, then why did you bring it out in the first place?
Yeah, exactly. And this is not doing much to restore my faith in Sony as a game producing company, because they've been very silent, whereas Phil Spencer has been very vocal. So I don't know. I feel like Sony doesn't know what they're doing at this point. Also, if Last of Us Part 2 is getting canceled, it's probably going to be the same story with Ghost of Tsushima, I imagine.
Well, they'll just be delayed right now. Anything that
not canceled, but delayed indefinitely.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you right now, my friend, any game that is going to make a portion of its sales via retail, via actual hard copies, you will probably see delays of. But if you're an independent studio who is just basing your sales off of digital, now is a great time to go ahead and release your game, because you've got so many people at home playing games right now that now would be a great time for that. But if anybody out there, like you said, with Sony, is trying to sell hard copies of it or still in development, because right now for a lot of these games that are coming out in 2020, there's crunch time, as they call about it. It's crunch time for a lot of these studios normally, but they can't do it because they're not together, because they're all home. And you could only do so much doing remote work. And in the case of Iron Man VR, that's something you need to all be collectively in the studio for. And if you're going into crunch time for The Last of Us 2, I can see why that they held that off. But if you're a team out there that can go ahead and produce something out digitally right now, and that's what you're basing your sales off of, you could make a nice chunk of change.
Yeah, but I mean, that doesn't sound like something Sony is doing or even thinking about doing. So
No.
They would have to make some big announcement here in the next week or so, because it's just right now they're getting a ton of bad publicity with the mix of the PS5 delays, and the thing with them making cheaper parts for the PS5, and then The Last of Us Part 2 being delayed. Like, they need to come out and say something soon. Phil Spencer has been all over the place this week, so I feel like Microsoft's fine, but Sony really needs to save face.
Well, it is going to be something we're going to have to keep continually telling you about, and as far as continue updating you on right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. Want to go ahead and also keep your an eye out for also our Pop Culture Cosmos Facebook page, which will also give you the latest updates on everything going on in the world of pop culture. And if you want to check out our Game Source Facebook page, it'll update you on everything going on in the world of video games. Coming up next, we've got Brett Allen from the Open Mic Podcast. He's here to talk some Tiger King, murder, mayhem, and madness. How much of it was murder? How much of the series was mayhem? And was there a whole lot of madness? That's coming up next. And then right after that, that's coming up next right here on the PCC Multiverse. And coming up next, we've got Alex Autry and Mike Faber of the ESO Network previewing WrestleMania right here coming up after the break. This is the PCC Multiverse. And we're back to close out the show. This is PCC Multiverse. Want to give a big thank you once again to Brett Allen from the Open Mic Podcast. You got to check out his great show each and every week on every available podcast outlet. And of course, catch Alex Autry and also Mike Faber from the ESO Network. Check out all the great shows for everything geek at esonetwork.com. My friend, before we head on out, want to go ahead and enlighten everybody out. There's a new game. We were talking about the games coming out, and if it's a great time, you want to go ahead and bring out your games if possible. Resident Evil 3 made a remake. Capcom made a Resident Evil 3 remake. What are your thoughts on Resident Evil 3? Did you play it originally, or do you have any good thoughts about it? Because this remake looks really, really good.
Yeah, it looks really, really good, and it looks like they kind of, picked up in the same style that the Resident Evil 2 remake had, which was a very, it was a great game. I don't remember a lot of Resident Evil 3. I just remember the Nemesis. I remember him being crazy hard to fight. But yeah, I'm kind of interested in picking it up and kind of seeing what's what with it, because I honestly I don't remember a lot of it, so I don't have like a ton of thoughts on it. But I'm excited to play it, and it looks great. Are you going to be playing it?
I might actually give it a chance because it's something that I know a lot of people are interested in. It brings back some fond memories. But the only thing that's added onto it instead of a new game plus is a multiplayer mode that they're entitling Resident Evil Resistance. And while Resident Evil 3 Remake is getting high scores, the multiplayer portion of it is getting, okay. It's a 4x1 asymmetrical multiplayer where you're either the one person controlling the action, or you're the four individuals trying to fight off that, or seek out and destroy that one individual. Similar to what we saw with Evolve, and now is what a growing number of asymmetrical 4x1 multiplayer modes. I want to hear your thoughts. Is this going to be interesting, this part of it for you, or is this something you're just going to go ahead and eschew altogether?
I am not big into multiplayer games, so that's probably something I will skip out on, but I will be interested in hearing about it and reading about it.
Fair enough, because I think everybody that's going to be playing it is probably geared more towards the Resident Evil 3 and digging back into that world of the Resident Evil, because Resident Evil 2, that remake that came out, was such it was a big hit. It was definitely something that a lot of people were enjoying. So Resident Evil 3 looks very good. The cutscenes look immaculate. They really look like they're on par, and Capcom should be congratulated for making what essentially is a remake, an outstanding remake of a classic in Resident Evil 3. So definitely looking forward to that as it comes out this weekend. Resident Evil Resistance is just a nice adding on to it that some may like, some may not like if you're into that. But you know what? Resident Evil 3, if you want to go ahead and give yourself a chilling good time, you can't go wrong with that. What are your thoughts out there on Resident Evil 3 being remade? The cancellations and delays with all the movie studios that we talked about earlier? Your thoughts on WrestleMania 36, or your thoughts on Tiger King on Netflix? Because we know you've got some out there. Share us your thoughts on that. PopCultureCosmos@yahoo.com. Plus also as well, Humanica Media, Game Source, and Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode. Know we got a lot of other stuff to talk about as well. On our Monday show, Alex Autry and Mike Faber are coming back one more time. We've also got Noah Ian Fine coming on for a few minutes, talking about some retro gaming. Got another great show lined up. But any last thoughts on the way out?
No, I mean, I'm hopeful that Final Fantasy VII will still make the release dates, and the people are still playing Animal Crossing. So I'm hoping that people are still enjoying games and getting new content out there. But if you have something in your back catalog that you are playing, we would love to hear about it. Send us an email, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com.
Absolutely, because Noah Ian Fine, he's going to be stopping by on the show to talk about some of the things he's been playing, and a lot of retro going back. So if you get a chance, let us know as well. And also, we're taking lists, the top 10 lists for movies. We want to go ahead and do a combined top 100 list. So if you've got a top 10 movie list, please send us an email, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day of paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.